Hello, and welcome to the only podcast where, much like Taro Calican, we're not gonna. Fuck.
Oh, finish it out, you coward. We're not cutting.
We restarted.
I think like Toro Calican, it's fine to just leave it as is. It's good enough.
Like Toro Calican, Matt tried his hardest on that intro joke, and it got nowhere.
You know, that's not pretty.
I'm Max.
That's not far up. I was gonna say we're not gonna put much effort in this week. Anyway, I'm Matt.
I'm Luke.
I'm Max.
This is Force for Thought. We're leaving it in.
That worked out pretty well, honestly.
Yeah, it really did. Oh, it's going so well so far. And actually, you know, that messing up actually really played into not only the joke, but that character in this episode.
I'm excited to talk about it. But hello and welcome to the Force for Thought podcast. Today we're talking about Season 1, Episode 5 of The Mandalorian, The Gunslinger, the one with Toro Calican and Fennec Shand and Pelimato, where they go back to Tatooine and Mos Eisley. This is the 5th episode in our rewatch series, and I'm not going to say it's the worst one for me so far. We'll do an official ranking at the end of the season of the whole season as a whole. But I didn't love it. What are your guys' thoughts? Matt, you can go ahead and talk about it.
Thanks, Luke. I have to redeem myself and actually say words in the correct order. It's funny. We were talking before, Max, you joined the Discord, and I feel like out of 5 episodes, 3 episodes, specifically 2, 4, and 5 now, we've all said they're not great, which is not a good number when you're at 8 episodes total in a season, and we're at 3 that were like, The Sanctuary, to be fair, Luke, I don't think you said that about, maybe. But The Sanctuary, The Gunslinger, and The Child, I don't think we're all huge fans of. And I told Luke this, Max, as well, but I've been ranking. I have a Google Doc now of like all the episodes ranked. And so every week I've been keeping track, and every week I've been adding them to it. Season 1, and then I'll have season 2, 3, and then all episodes ranked combined for all 3 seasons. And it's interesting because this episode has a space battle, and I think it looks great CGI wise. I love the speeders. I love the nostalgic aspect. It's a little kind of on the nose when they're sitting in the booth. It feels like that that Han and Greedo are in. It feels very reminiscent of that. We haven't said that in a while. It has all the things that that should work for an episode. Amy Sedaris is great. She's a little too on the nose, I think, looking exactly like Ripley from Aliens, a little bit. So it has all these things that I should like, and I like Fennec Shand a lot in it, and I like her a lot in this episode. But it just for some reason falls flat. I mean, Taro Calican, you know what I'm saying, and I'll pass it on for now.
Well, he's more of a Toro Calicant for you.
Oh my God! Why? Yeah, I should. Yeah, I'm just gonna let you guys talk this episode and watch.
There it is.
Max, how'd you like this episode?
Look, that was the perfect intro joke. What, you should have said that.
Edit it around. Put that then.
Put that then.
I didn't dislike this episode as much as I remembered it. I agree that episodes 1 and 3 are definitely the strongest episodes of the 5 so far. And if episode 5 is my least favorite, it's not by that much. I mean, There are definitely some questions that we'll get to, but it was still entertaining. It was kind of the most animated Star Wars feeling episode of The Mandalorian yet in live action. If that makes sense, like what you were saying about Pelimato, she was really hamming it up, and it is jarring. I don't know. I guess I prefer more of a kind of natural, grounded feeling, and she just kind of made it feel like she thought this was going to be an animated special or something. But overall, I guess that's kind of my overall impressions. I will wait until we kind of walk through the scenes a little bit more, bit by bit, because I do have a lot of thoughts and a lot of questions.
Yeah, of course, this is Star Wars, and I still love it. It's better than most shows and most episodes, but in terms of The Mandalorian, I am going to need the last 3 episodes of the season to be really stellar to pull up my idea of the season as a whole, and if memory serves, they are. So I'm excited to see where it goes. but yeah, as far as this episode, it was the first, well, not the first one, but episodes 2 and 4, we agree, weren't the best, but both of them I liked way more than I remembered liking the first time. This one I liked exactly as much as I remember liking the first time. I was not pleasantly surprised with this one like I was with 4 and 2. I was satisfied. Like it wasn't worse than I remember, but it was definitely as I remember. But let's go ahead and get into the episode. It opens with that space battle with other bounty hunter. How'd you guys like that sequence? I don't know why I say that. Max, I feel like you really like this sequence, but I may be wrong. I feel like you've talked about it before.
Not this sequence. I was going to say I did not think this was a great sequence, but it might be because I hold space battles to a higher standard because I really love space battles a lot. It's one of my favorite parts about Star Wars. Part of the problem with this one was that it was in space and you had no reference, and so it just kind of looked a little bit goofy. Like, it did look like the space battle in A New Hope, right when they flee from the Death Star and they're being pursued by those the TIE fighters, because they're just kind of like, it looks like they're drifting through space, and I understand they did like a lot of like really cool effects, like with the camera and everything to like give it motion. But when you're just kind of like literally in space without any sort of reference, it just kind of looks odd. And I know from watching like the behind the scenes stuff that they tried to mimic the similar effects by like kind of shooting it in similar ways. And so it just looks to me a lot like episode 4, A New Hope, specifically that scene. And so it's like, I don't know. It was only okay, I would say.
That might be why I liked it. I think it was, the simplicity was nice.
That would make sense.
That tracks.
I mean, I didn't love it, to be fair, but I was like, oh, this is a really cool space battle. Is really it's more of a space chase really than anything. And I like the idea.
Space incident at best.
Yeah, that's really what it is. And I mean, it is also on the TV level, right? You can tell, like, obviously in Revenge of the Sith, amazing space battle. That is a battle, right? Lasers everywhere, ships everywhere, a lot of reference points. With this, it just feels like, I feel like it makes sense for the story. It feels like Cops and Robbers a little bit. I like the emptiness and the vastness of space and where you kind of hide. I like that kind of like creepy idea. But then ultimately, I don't like where it ends, which is another, oh, my system's down, I have to make a landing. Like, it's like, oh, the story that we want to see is now going to be derailed into another thing. And that's where I didn't like it. It was fine until I was like, oh my God, I forgot we're doing this again. Again, it's just those, when you can see through it, it gets a bit annoying to me. And in this episode, it was the most clear, unfortunately.
Well, I feel like my comments led nicely into your thoughts, so let me try to sling this one Luke's way by also mentioning the costuming. I thought was below average, because this is a bounty hunter chasing this person, and it looks like they're just wearing like a normal Air Force space suit.
Yes.
Fighter pilot costume.
It looks like they are in part of like some sort of fighter pilot like regime. They don't feel like a bounty hunter. Sorry, Luke, go on.
Yes, and I didn't like it, and I especially don't like it when seemingly the exact same costume is used on Dead Guy on Dewback later in the episode.
That's one of my biggest notes. I'm
what
like,
the hell
is
are we
that
doing?
supposed to be the same guy? Are we? I
Is
think
it?
We're just supposed to be led to believe that they're just like part of like a bounty hunting gang, like they're part of some sort of crew. But it's like that was definitely not fleshed out. And if you don't flesh that out, which you don't have to, that's a silly thing to go into. But it raises questions when you see the exact same costume sitting in the middle of the desert. And you're just like, wait, I saw this earlier this episode.
This should have been an alien. This should have been a creature. Like, to be fun to look at.
For an alien, instead of just a guy in a
or just a cool
mask.
costume. You're only filming him from the bust up, right? I mean, it's like at most you're seeing his chest to his head. So it's like you really could have done something with like a cool helmet and a much cooler flight suit or something.
And it's not like that's not fertile ground to grow a great costume, because one of the most iconic costumes is the orange X-wing pilot costume. Like, that's, come on,
Yeah.
But the idea that that's a bounty hunter gang, that's valid. It's not like they were hunting. It's not like that guy was killed hunting Mandalorian. Also, he was doing a separate job, but they were both potentially doing guild work. But we saw all those guilds, to quote Grief Karga from the intro again, all of them. And they weren't all wearing that same costume, so I don't see why they have to be now.
Yeah.
But yeah, the costuming was my biggest takeaway. Otherwise, I agree with Max. Having just 2 ships and an open space and no reference points, it's hard to really get invested. And the other part that stuck out to me was when he did the hard break and let the guy overshoot him and then get him. It's a good move, but he like extends his flaps as if he was in atmosphere and the wind resistance increased, which is not something that bothers me. But all those fuckers that complain about the Last Jedi having gravity that pushes the bombs down on the resistance bomber, that is so much easier explained in the vacuum than these flaps. And I know, I'm not mad about the flaps in on the Razor Crest. It's just the inconsistency with the things that people choose to bitch about.
That's
Correct.
a great call.
As Last Jedi apologists, we're always going to point out the fact that its criticism is unfair.
Also, is it not fair to say that out of the vastness of space and then that galaxy, that gravity could have different density throughout? That maybe the bombs can drop also. I don't know. I feel like it's just insane to me.
There is 1.5 million reasons why that is not unreasonable. And the fact that some people try to make a big deal about that. Just say you don't like the film and move on. Like, don't make these dumbass arguments.
My headcanon is it's magnets. The top bomb has a magnet that repels the bottom bomb, and then that makes
Can you imagine?
Down. And then the magnets turn off once they get their force. The gravity thing I don't like at first. And again, this is a road that we don't even have to walk down for our podcast purposes. But because in my mind, gravity has to be constant, just because it has to be, which is how our world works. And I don't know if it does have to be for the Star Wars world, because all the planets have the same gravity, seemingly. And it seems unlikely that they all have the same mass. So maybe there is something there, that gravity is funky in the Star Wars universe. And I would need to think about it for couple of years until I'm ready to discuss it on the pod, but that's something to chew on.
See you in a couple of years. we'll circle back to that when we're old and gray.
Mandalorian season 4, bring it up. If they even call it Mandalorian season 4, or if they just go straight to season 5 after Mandalorian and Grogu.
I'm sure they will do something stupid like that. Yes. I like the show. I know it doesn't come across like that this episode so far.
What's the franchise? It's not Fast and Furious that has the unconventional naming. Is it Rambo? That's like Rambo 2 Part 2 or something.
The first one is called
First Blood. Yeah.
But that tracks.
I mean, they have. I mean,
Transformers
you also have,
1 just recently came out, and it was like 6th.
But that's also animated.
But that's sequential, though, isn't it?
I mean, you like the.
I thought Rambo went in a weird order. I thought Rambo was the one that had like a really weird naming convention.
You have Rocky,
it was like
which you have
part
like
2, Part 3, and then it was like Part 2 or First Blood Part 2, and then it was like going backwards.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. And now I'm very interested. Please figure that out. I mean, they have like First Blood Part 2, Rambo 3, and then I think there's like just like Rambo. But that's kind of like Fast and the Furious. I don't know. Off the top of
we
my
don't
head.
have to disparage Fast
we
and
can
the
do a whole
Furious.
episode on the Fast and Furious names. But I'm a big fan of the Fast and Furious franchise. Rambo,
We
I'm trying to
should.
make fun of for doing the exact same thing.
But
the Rambo
first-
movies are First Blood, Rambo First Blood Part 2, Rambo 3, Rambo, and Rambo Last Blood. So that doesn't seem too bad.
That makes. It's not as nonsensical as I thought it was, but it's still odd.
All right. Anyway, the Mandalorian, he goes down to Tatooine to repair his ship, and we get some fun copy pasta instances of A New Hope. I don't even know. It's much more than an homage. It's like I wouldn't be surprised if Dave Filoni fished out the exact film cell and just digitized it and put it on this episode. Like when you see Tatooine with the moon, that's literally the shot from A New Hope. When you see the Razor Crest flying into Mos Eisley, that is literally the shot from A New Hope. But I like that. I don't have any qualms with that. It's not distracting, especially if you aren't very familiar with A New Hope. So I like it.
It's distracting that they went to Tatooine at all because it was seemingly by coincidence. Until we find out later in season 2 that it was to establish the backstory of Boba Fett, which for some reason they didn't just flesh out at the end of this episode. We'll get there. Hold on. The thing that stuck out to me was when he landed in Pelimato's bay and she charged him $500 500 credits for parking. How much is parking in this universe? That
That's a
I
lawless
need to go
land. She
through
can
and
set
find
her
out
own
how much
price.
credits are for other things. Well, did you see that the bounty on Fennec Shan was 10,000 credits? I'm like, you're telling me that it costs 1/20th the bounty of Fennec Shan just to keep this thing parked somewhere? That
It's
is
a big,
outrageous.
it's a big ship. Now imagine a car, right? A car would be like $50 to $100. I feel like so 500. I don't think that's unreasonable for that big of a ship. It's a lot of space. I went to a preseason Browns game and the parking was $65. Preseason Browns game.
Maybe there's also an unspoken agreement that all this carbon scoring and damage to the Razor Crest will require a certain dollar's worth of privacy on the matter that she's also
You're paying for
wrapping
discretion.
into it. Yeah.
Or it's also one of those things where it's like collateral. You come back, you get an extra $150 back.
Working on the return customer. That could be.
Exactly.
I like that intro scene with Pelimato. I also really like Pelimato. I don't know. I don't remember. I've never seen Alien, so the Ripley comment didn't land for me. And I didn't think she was hamming it up too bad. I thought her character was just kind of extra, and that was okay.
That's just Amy
I like
Sedaris.
Pelimato. I only know Amy Sedaris from
was
Elf,
not a fan.
and she's not really like that in Elf. She was a little bit more straight-faced in Elf.
I like Amy Sedaris quite a bit.
What else is
She's
she
an
in? I don't even
interesting
know.
choice for this as well. She's in the movie Chef, also with Jon Favreau, presumably why she's in this. I think her and Jon Favreau are buds. She is in Hard Candy and a bunch of other. She does a lot of I think is it Hard Candy? No, that might be the movie from Kids in the Hall. She's a good character actor. Basically, she does like 90s or 2000s sitcoms and stuff. She's a mostly comedic actor. She's also in BoJack Horseman. I like Amy Sedaris though. She's
IMDb
cool.
says
She seems like a voice actress.
IMDb says she's most known for Elf, which is a pretty minor role, so I don't think she's that famous.
I was about to say, I don't even remember her in Elf. If she is the person that I think she is, she was a very minor role in that.
I mean,
she's
she's the girl that wasn't Walter Hobbs' wife. She must have been his secretary.
Yeah, she is
She
the
worked
secretary.
at the
Chanel.
publishing office.
Okay.
Yeah, she's not famous. She's
But who's
up
she
there
married to? Isn't she
with
married?
Brian Posehn or whomever that I didn't like seeing in episode 1, even though he's not that famous.
You see, that's who she's married to.
Yeah, isn't she married to someone famous? Did you
Oh,
say that
I
already?
don't know. Oh, I
Well,
don't
women aren't really defined by their husband's status anymore.
I thought this one was for some reason. I'm not trying to be rude. I really thought she was married to like someone who's like super
Paul
famous.
Daniello.
Maybe I'm thinking of
but
somebody
she
else.
was no, she's divorced. She
Yeah,
wasn't. No, she
Paul
wasn't
Danello,
divorced.
yeah, for 8 years in the 90s.
Yeah.
Never mind. I must be thinking of somebody else. I promise I was not just trying to make
Oh.
a dig at this woman.
Strangers with
Single,
Candy, that's
Max,
what I
if
was
you want to be
saying.
her successful husband. The Google result said partner Paul Danello, 1987 to 95. It also says years active, 1990 to present. For a second, I was like, does that mean like in the dating game? Why are you giving me this kind of information, Google?
Her parents were strict.
All right, Amy Sedaris, thumbs up for me. I liked Amy Sedaris. I like Pelimato.
I agree.
Disagree. Move on.
Mandalorian then decides to go to the Chalmers Space Cantina, as it is called by some people. I believe that's a Legends name. Got that question wrong in trivia back on May the 4th, so I shan't forget it again. But there he meets not Woo-Her, who behind the bar. It's now operated by a droid, much to his probable chagrin. And he meets Toro Calican. And I like this scene. I like Toro Calican. I like the way he's set up. I like Toro Calican more than most people. I get that he's not that cool or whatever, but he's also not supposed to be. He's supposed to be, that's the purpose of his character, to be arrogant and think higher of himself and, dangerous. But this scene especially at least didn't rub you the wrong way. He does kind of start to rub me the wrong way later, but I like him.
I don't dislike him. I thought he was a little one-dimensional, a little too one-dimensional, but he's a side character in a very brief episode. You know, we're not going to get too much backstory in him or any sort of like, you know, complicated motivations or story arc out of him. So it's kind of like, okay, whatever, you know, it's the nature of the beast, I suppose, that these are the characters that we get, but it's like, oh, he's motivated by fame. Okay.
Yeah.
That-
It's
and
very
that's
obvious
fine.
up front. I think it's more like maybe the writing or line delivery at some points. Especially when they're on the sand dunes later on.
There is at least one instance of writing that I don't love in this episode, in this scene, and it just reeks of like corporate overlooking or corporate whatever that's called. Because Dave Filoni knows Star Wars in and out and knows the fans, but the line Fennec Shand made her money or made her fortune killing for all the top syndicates, including the Hutts. It's like, I feel like Dave Filoni wrote that line. She made her fortune killing for all the top syndicates, and some asshole at Disney was like, "Oh, you mean like the Hutts? The Hutts, put that in there. People know the Hutts." It's like, we know the syndicates too. Like, you don't have to, and even if you don't know the syndicates, they're the top whatevers. Like, you don't need to include the Hutts just because people know the Hutts, you know?
That's funny. That didn't bother me.
They're like, Dave Filoni's typing this out, and he's like, so what do you want me to just say? She killed for all the syndicates, including the Hutts? Yeah, that's good. We just need to name drop them. He's like, just begrudgingly, including the Hutts.
Yeah, why stop? Including the Pikes, including Black Sun, including whomever.
Including in the direction, stare at camera, like Jabba, remember?
And his son Rada, who will be back.
I do think part of that might be the fact that they were clearly setting up Boba Fett's return by this point, because we see him at the end of the episode, just his feet. When we get there, I'll talk about it more. But there's multiple times where they make what is, in my opinion, very obvious references to Boba Fett. So it's like, on rewatch, it's like, of course that person at the end is Boba Fett. Like, why did we even debate this at the time?
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense with the Hutt reference alone. So I'm gonna go back, Luke. I do like that line now. It didn't stick out to me, but then it was weird. But if you do have these kind of breadcrumbs to be like, who's it gonna be? I think that does make a little bit of sense. From a character standpoint, it makes none. But from a viewer to be like, Boba Fett's coming, it does.
None, I don't think there was writing that stood out to me as being poor. There was one moment of direction once we get to them encountering the Sand People, the Tusken Raiders, but I'll wait until we get there.
Well, that's not a short time. It's not a long time from now, because Mando leaves Grogu with Peli, which I like. Good for her. Good for him. And then Toro Calican gets those 6 swoop bikes that it was like, the camera kind of lingered there for an extra second. I was like, am I supposed to know these swoop bikes in particular? Is this like, because I thought for a second that it was like Cobb Vanth pulling out Anakin's pod racer engine that he rides on in season 2, episode 1. But it wasn't that. These are just swoop bikes. I don't see what the big fuss was that they wanted me to get out of this. But they're
Filoni
cool.
fought
They did
for
the
those
job
bikes.
done.
Any sort of Easter egg or anything. What I thought was funny was before that when he's telling him at Chalmun's Cantina, he said, "Meet me at Hangar Bay 3-2 or whatever, and bring 2 swoop bikes and let me hold the fob." And then he immediately smashes it. And then he's like, "Looks like we're in it together, partner," or whatever. And he's like, "Don't worry, I know where it is in my head." The thing is about that is it's like, I see that from his perspective, that he's like, I'm going to destroy this so that he has to take me along with him, because I get the impression that he's going to try to like squeeze me out of this deal. But that had to have been so frustrating for Mando, because from his perspective, he wasn't about to, because he can't cash in this bounty on Fennec Shand because he's wanted by the guild, but he doesn't want to tell Toro that. So it's like Toro does this thing that he thinks thwarts Mando's plan, but in Mando's head, he's just like, that's so inconvenient. He's like, if you don't have this in your head, if you don't know where she is and we get lost in the Dune Sea, I'm going to be so fucking pissed.
Or if she moves,
Yeah.
she could move during the time from now until you find her. Yeah, and then that also happens again.
I just thought that beat was funny.
that happens again later when Toro Calican's like, no, I'll stay with Fennec Shand. You go get the dewback so you don't leave me. And Mando's like, I wasn't going to leave you, but fine.
Correct.
So they take the swoop bikes out to the Dune Sea. And this is, I said that I was going to keep an eye on the special effects because you guys were making a big fuss about it in the past, and I thought it was good. The special effects on the swoop bikes were not great. I don't know. That's really all I have to say about it. They're not great.
I thought they were fine. What
So did I.
Oh.
I didn't mind him at all.
Really? Excellent. I love being in the minority on this. No, like the
I was gonna keep an eye out for that too, and I was like, okay, yeah, I think that looks good.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it looked particularly fake or like a video game. I don't know. I didn't like the look of it. It's hard to really put my eye on it. I'm watching it right now. That shot looks okay, but like the shots when they're coming towards the camera or going away from the camera, I think it looks hokey. But I'm happy to be the only one with that opinion. They then go meet the Tusken Raiders, and this is the first time this blew up the fandom when we finally learned that the Tusken Raiders are not savages and they can be reasoned with and negotiated with. That set the world on fire.
They
What?
are savages still. None of that has ever changed.
Well,
The
they can be.
idea to humanize the Tusken Raiders is one of the worst decisions that Star Wars has made in recent history. Because even in the Book of Boba Fett, which goes the most out of its way to try to humanize these people, it starts with them kidnapping these people, torturing them, and about to murder them. It's like, no. These are still savages. These are not good people. This is Stockholm Syndrome. Why they include that?
They're not good people. Like, they're obviously not heroes, but they can. The line was them being animals to them being sentient. Like, you can talk to them and communicate with them. That alone was an improvement upon where we thought the Tuskens were before this episode.
It's all part of this weird agenda to humanize the Tusken Raiders, and I think that only makes things even weirder because it's like, well, I don't know. Anakin Skywalker slaughtered them, and it's like, oh, but look, like that contributes to Anakin's arc because it's like, they weren't really that bad, It's like they're just kind of misunderstood, and it's like, no, they did kidnap his mother and had her tied up, and were probably doing questionable things to her, but it started here with this decision to like, okay, we're going to meet the Tusken Raiders and Mando's going to communicate with them. And in this one, he only did it via sign language. And I'm pretty sure the next time we see this in season 2, episode 1, he starts grunting too and like trying to speak their language. And it's like even more hokey. But the thing that gets me though is actually just the direction of this when they're looking at the Tusken Raiders through the binocs. And then he says something about like, oh, we're going to have to request passage or whatever. And Mando's like, tell them yourself. And then the camera just pans and they're just like standing right there. Yeah. And it's like, oh, like a weird jump scare. But it's like, you're in the middle of the desert. Like these people had to have been walking for like 30 minutes before they got this close to you. Like, what do you mean they just like snuck up on you in the last 5 seconds?
Oh, they can sneak. They snuck up on Luke in almost the exact same way in A New Hope. Does that one bother you?
No, because there were boulders or things that they were hiding behind and
rock formations.
They in this instance, they were right in the middle.
The sand is their element, Maxwell. It's where they live.
Also, in A New Hope, they pop up like they jump out of the bushes, and they're scaring Luke. In this one, the camera just turns and they're just already standing there. Yeah, it's weird.
It is like a Spaceballs level joke.
Okay, I resent that statement even more than what Max was saying because. No, it's not. It's hardly even a joke. It's just they're there. I mean, no,
it's not a joke, but it feels like a joke because it's just not done well. The camera just pans, and you're just like, oh.
Because you're not expecting it. That's the only joke, and they can very easily just walk up or crawl up, or they might have been close.
It, then have them pop up.
They got people around the perimeter of the Dune Sea protecting their land. They don't have walls or anything. They just have Tuskens placed around and to ward off invaders, and these people were the closest ones, and so they just wander around and pop up. I thought that, well, I like this scene, and I like this development with the Tuskens. I honestly, I was gonna come into this conversation kind of where you are, but you came in a little extra hot, and I don't want to be quite that on board with it. I don't love this direction that the Tuscans went in, but I do. I'm pretty in the middle, I guess. I don't know. I like it more than I thought I did. Hearing you say all of that, Matt, where are you on this development?
With the Tuscans specifically, I am on Max's side as well. I never saw them fully as animalistic. I always just saw them as a tribe that, like, if you know those stories where people are like, oh, like people would go to Vietnam and there would still be soldiers who are fighting the war years later, and that's just like I feel like they were secluded people that are very attuned to themselves, like much like it's hard to, I feel like, navigate this without sounding like almost like racist in the sense when you're saying like the Native Americans, how they have their own tribes, right? And this is the tribe that they are in, and they have their very specific ways. And I feel like that's how I always viewed the Tusken Raiders. Is that they've never been integrated into society. They've always stuck to themselves. And that's how I always viewed them. So I never really had a problem with them being humanized or not humanized. I think they were always doing stuff for themselves. And I don't know, with the stuff with Shmi and stuff, I don't know that could have been just that clan. I don't know. I don't like that they're ultra humanizing them, because I feel like it's a weird thing to focus on, because I don't think it was needed.
We're not talking about Book of Boba Fett or Season 2, Episode 1 right now. The amount of humanizing that they've done right now is simply that they can be communicated with and negotiated with.
Yeah, I think that makes
sense.
Any
of these people were raising children like they will be in Book of Boba Fett.
No, that's what I mean,
it's
though, too.
It's not upsetting.
Yeah.
It's just it's a weird thing to introduce for seemingly no reason. They don't come back into it at all for the rest of the episode either. So it also just seems gratuitous.
I resent you saying no reason like that. It's just part of the episode. It's a monster of the week thing. Like, this whole episode is for no reason. It's just the show that we're watching.
We still got to serve the story, though. This didn't serve the story in any way.
Oh, it helped establish that Toro Calican's an idiot and he doesn't understand. He's in over his head and he's whiny that his binocs are gone, and Mando is more experienced, and it helps establish that relationship.
I did like the beat when he made him give up his binocs. That was funny.
We then approached the Dewback with that same fucking guy that blew up in the stars above not 25 minutes ago. It has to be a different guy, because this guy was, his ship
definitely
blew up.
not 25 minutes ago. This is a short episode. This might have been 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, no, this is the 15-minute
Definitely
mark.
recent enough that you recognize him. If it was a couple episodes ago, maybe you can get away with it. Sorry,
I've always wondered how quick Dewbacks travel, that they need the Dewback to travel across the Dune Sea. But then I thought, well, camels are also pretty slow, and I've never walked across the desert, so I'm sure I would want to mount, even if it is slow. It's just that, like, in a world with speeder bikes and stuff, like, they were going, 50 miles an hour on that speeder bike? And now this Dewback is about to go 5 miles an hour? That's going to take them 10 times as long to go as far as they want to go. But whatever, that's not specific to this right now. Mando approaches dead bounty hunter guy and gets the tracking fob for Fennec Shand, and then he learns that she's really close, and then he starts getting shot. I really like that beat, too.
Mm-hmm.
He gets
also
shot several times. Another classic Mandalorian, only getting shot in the best car. But this one worked especially well because it was such a big rifle, and it made like an extra loud ping, and it was like knocking him over. I like it this time. It bothers me more when there's 15 stormtroopers and 6 of them hit him, all on different parts of the Mandalorian of the Beskar.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fennec Shand, I think, is probably, to me, one of the things that helps save this episode. I like Fennec Shand. I also like Fennec Shand in Book of Boba Fett. And, Luke, I know that's an area where you and I disagree. You did not like Fennec Shand in Book of Boba Fett, but I thought she was good all throughout. I don't think there's ever been a bad iteration of her in live action, in Mando, in Book of Boba Fett, or in...
I agree.
Bad Batch.
Animation?
Bad Batch. I was about to say Clone Wars, but I knew that wasn't right.
And Tales from the Underworld? No.
Was she
Disregard.
Tales?
I don't remember.
She might have been.
There definitely... She wasn't an arc.
It was definitely Bad Batch. She was in Bad Batch.
The scene this is one of my favorite scenes in I'd say the whole episode is I like that standoff. I like that they're waiting and they're fighting the sand dunes. I love that moment. It's a great way to make a really blank space interesting, I think, that we haven't really seen before. The one thing that I always think about, though, is when Mandalorian's like, I'm going to get some rest. Good for him to be able to fall asleep in the broad daylight. Like, can you imagine? And by the way, this is a plan he just came up with. I feel like he was tired the entire day, and then he was just looking for an excuse to sleep. Because it always is so funny where it's like, anyway, we're doing this now. Good night. It's just like, okay, he's gone.
That scene jumps out at me as being another tabletop role-playing game moment where...
Yes, it does.
I'm pretty sure I've said that exact thing. Like, all right, you have first rest. You have first watch. I'm going to go rest. I need to replenish my stats.
It's when you're...
cuts back to him, and he's literally sleeping. Like, that is such an odd moment for a TV show, yet so on brand for this show.
Yes, when you're playing like Skyrim or Fallout and you have to like find a bed to rest for a little bit, like that's definitely what it feels like. But it also does what I love. Sorry, Max, go on.
I was gonna say I think it was right before that when he was talking to Toro Calican about Fennec Shan when he says that she's no good to me dead, and it's like, that's the most on the nose Boba Fett reference we've had so far. I think it was at that point too, and that was like the most obvious one that in hindsight I'm like, it's so obvious that this is Boba Fett at the end.
Yeah.
Well, it's not. I disagree that makes it obvious that it's Boba Fett at the end, because at this time since the production was announced on Mandalorian Season 1, the only thing anyone was ever thinking about was, this is Boba Fett, but they can't do Boba Fett, so this is new Boba Fett. And so just recycling his lines, it's just more homages to Boba Fett, which is just what the whole inception of the show has been since it was first pitched. And so I don't think that's an obvious link that it's going to be Boba Fett at the end. I think it
is, because I don't think it's a coincidence that all of these homages are coming in the 5th episode.
Well, the other homages were just more subtle and / bigger picture. It's like the design, the fact that he's a Mandalorian. He has the pulse rifle from the holiday special. He has the same kit and everything. Like, it's not like just because these are the most specific references to Boba Fett. Like, zoom out, the whole thing is a reference to Boba Fett.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess I'm zoomed in too much, and I'm specifically zoomed in on Tatooine, and I think that's probably part of the reason why. Because it's like, again, why is this happening on Tatooine? This could have happened on literally any other planet.
Yeah,
and then you find out like, oh, this is why it's on Tatooine. I don't know.
Oh, well, I mean, just because it can happen on any other planet doesn't mean it can't happen on Tatooine. Like, why do you want to go somewhere new? Dave Filoni wants to take us on a greatest hits tour. That's fine.
No, that is the dumbest thing. If it could happen on any planet, make it a new one. Don't send me to somewhere I've already seen.
Oh,
the entire episode, you're like, why is this happening on Tatooine? Why are we back at this exact same cantina? Like, this is just weird.
I disagree. Even if it wasn't Boba Fett, if there was no Boba Fett tie-in and Boba Fett was never in this saga again, I think it's fine to come back to Boba Fett, to come back to Tatooine for one episode just for the kicks.
No, I disagree with that. Not for the kicks.
All right, Toro Calican.
But there was a reason. We just didn't find out until next season. Confirmed until next season.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Toro Calican wakes up Boba Fett and does that fun drawing his gun thing. Like, we wouldn't all do that. You guys are probably going to say Toro Calican's such a dummy for doing this when you know damn well that's what you'd be doing. Like, he's us, guys. You just don't want to admit it.
I'm just going to point out, you did say Boba Fett instead of Mandalorian or Din Djarin. I know you're going to re-listen to this next week or whenever this comes out, and you're going to be so annoyed with yourself. I just want to...
Yeah, I am. Go ahead and edit that in, fix it, and then edit this out and fix that. Perfect.
Okay.
You know, I always thought that if I met me, I wouldn't like me. And I think you're right, Luke. I think this is a good example of why that character doesn't work.
That's why you hate this character. Yeah, that's why you hate Toro Calican so much. It's like when your kids start adopting your poor behavior. I don't want to see this.
No, you're supposed to be better.
All right, so it's finally nighttime, and they go riding up to fight Fennec Shand, and they pop those flares. That was a cool plan. I thought that was plausible. Because even when he said, let's wait for the cover of night. I was like, Doug, she has a heat-seeking scope. Like, I know you don't know that, but when she's looking in her scope, it does not matter if it's daytime or nighttime. She sees the heat signature and not the light of you. So that's going to be tough. But yeah, he pulled out the flashes. Would the flashes have worked during the day?
Probably.
No.
No? You don't
No?
think so?
I don't know
think
enough
it might
about
have.
The answer is no, but don't ask me why, because that's the whole reason that they did it.
It
That's
is
the
the
whole reason
whole
that they did it. So obviously it wouldn't work during the day. The answer is definitely no. We just don't know why. It seems like it probably might have worked during the day.
So be it. We can leave it at that.
It's because it's the contrast. It's the contrast.
The contrast, okay. But aren't like flares like really bright so that it would work even during the day?
You don't know this more than Dave Filoni, Luke. All right, just stop. Just stop.
All right. I was just asking. I'm not taking a stance.
Dave Filoni does seem like the kind of guy that like plays with flashbangs. Like if he plays paintball, he's using flashbangs and takes it way too seriously.
Yeah,
Dave
that's
Filoni
true.
seems like a guy who would take paintball way too seriously.
Doesn't he? I feel like
Have you
him
guys ever met someone that takes paintball way too seriously? It's the person that you most expect every time.
Yeah, the person who wears camo out in the world all the time.
Yeah.
Constantly drinking Monster Energy drinks.
I'm not joking. You're describing my neighbors growing up. Like you were describing Rob Matthews, which who I love very much. I'm gonna should edit this out, but the Monster Energy, the camo, and the paintball is all very much him. It's very funny.
It's a type.
We then get
Let's talk real quick about Fennec Shand, though, because, again, I understand we're not going to get like the entire backstory, and it would be a weird rabbit hole to go down even if we did. But I am curious what she was doing on Tatooine, why she was in the middle of the Dune Sea. At one point, someone said that she had a meetup or something in Mos Espa, and I wish I remembered that a little bit better because my note just says Fennec had a meetup in Mos Espa, ? Which is where Book of Boba Fett takes place, which is weird that never comes up. Where was she trying to go, and why?
Book of Boba Fett takes place in Mos Espa?
Doesn't it? It's not Mos Eisley.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Why
sure
isn't
Mos
it? I'm pretty
Espa.
sure it is. That's what? But he goes to Jabba's palace, and then he takes over Jabba's palace. And that's in...
Is Jabba's palace in Mos Eisley?
Oh, geez. I guess it's not. But Jabba presides... Well, no, he presides over Mos Espa predominantly. Okay, all right. Go ahead and edit that out also. I am not prepared.
No, because you got me questioning myself now. I think a lot of the reason I'm thinking this is because of the Vespa gang. People kept dubbing Mos Vespa. So
it is Mos Espa.
Thank
It
you.
is
Okay.
focusing on the Dune Sea and the city of Mos Espa.
But now I need to go back. This is going to upset me so much. I got to go back and rewatch Book of Boba Fett. Because how did this interaction go between Fennec Shand and Book of Boba Fett? Because Fennec Shand was definitely not expecting to see Boba Fett, right?
I don't even think she knew him.
Okay. So she's not going to Mos Espa to meet him.
No.
Okay.
But I don't know why she's going to Mos Espa or why she's stuck on this hill. She's not
Is
making very
Boba
good
Fett
progress.
in love, which is why he goes to Mos Espa? He just follows her around. He's like, yeah, I can show her what's up. I'll take over this whole fucking town.
No, I don't think so.
But we can talk more about the lack of proper motivations in that show.
Yeah.
He's just we could talk about that some other time, yes. We then get a surprisingly satisfactory fight scene between Toro Calican and Fennec Shand. For two characters that I don't like very much, I was pleased with this fight scene between the two of them.
I was not surprised. Fennec Shand is a highly skilled mercenary and an excellent fighter. I, again, stand by my praise of this character.
It ends with him in, and I don't know my MMA at all, but there's something, I think it's called an arm lock or something, that they get into a position when one wins on another person. And it's like right before they tap out, and I tried looking this up when I watched my last MMA movie, it was The Warrior with Joel Edgerton, Star Wars Connection, and Nick
Good
Nolte,
movie.
Star Wars Connection.
Oh,
But the I don't know how it works, and I know this is a
wait,
tangent.
and
of
Tom
all
Hardy.
tangents.
Doesn't Tom Hardy play a stormtrooper as a cameo in Force
Does
Awakens
he?
or something?
This
I
is
didn't
basically
think
a Star
so.
Wars movie.
I thought Tom Hardy does a cameo as a stormtrooper.
I think he might. I feel like I've heard that before.
Let's
Is that
look
just
it
a
up.
rumor?
Yeah, look it
There's
up.
a lot
'cause
of
I
people
don't
who
know.
have- there's a
Deleted
lot of
scene
clips.
from Last Jedi. Deleted scene.
Oh, that's so close. That must be
Sorry,
devastating
Luke.
for him. His whole career.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You were on a roll, and I was just like, oh my god, I think I have something.
No. They get into that position where one's like holding the other one with their legs and has their arm like held up to their chest, and then the other person taps out. I don't know if it's because the winner is about to break his arm and he taps out before his arm gets broken, or because that position just really hurts and you can't get out of it. But like, how savage if you're just gonna get your arm broken. But Fennec Shand gets Toro Calican in this position, and then it crunches like she does break his arm, but then he keeps using his arm like it's unbroken. So I don't know. I don't know how fighting works. Don't ever fight me.
I would trust Warrior over this as my suggestion. Also, one of the best
Chop
scenes
it
in
up
that
as
movie.
poor Folly work.
They
One of
they
whose?
play. I just love that scene in Warrior specifically. They play one of my favorite bands of all time, The National, About Today during that scene. It's very emotional, and it makes me think of my brothers. And I couldn't listen to that song until I moved back to Cleveland without crying. Little insight about me.
Toro Calican
TMI, all right.
Toro Calican successfully stalls Fennec Shand, if you want to call it that. He's just getting the ship kicked out of him, which, fair. He's an expert assassin. He's just a lowly guy like us trying to join the Bounty Hunters Guild. And then Mandalorian shows up. They take her prisoner. And Mando tragically agrees to go fetch the dewback, which I get that Toro Calican has trust issues. But at this point, which hadn't occurred to me when I was watching it, but Max, you said that Mando doesn't want to admit that he's not he can't cash in the bounty on Fennec Shand because he's wanted by the guild. And so, how annoying. Yeah, just exactly like you said before. He has to go get this dewback, and he can't say why that he won't push back on this, but it makes sense. That's good writing. I like that.
I also don't know the mechanics of how these swoop bikes work, but I was like, let's think about how we can take her with us a little bit longer. I feel like there's a way that we could tie her to a bike without, like, completely dragging her the entire way. You could drag her a little bit, probably.
Exactly, because he jokes about that. And when he says that, I'm like, well, let's wait here. There is something there. I agree. And then while he's gone, the sun comes up, and Fennec convinces Toro that the bounty on Mando is greater than the bounty on him, which is probably true. I think this is a very well-written scene. This is a situation that, yeah, it's better for Toro, it's better for Fennec, and fuck Mando. I think that's a very well-written scene. And then he shoots Fennec and is like, no, then I don't need you, which is also a fair event to happen with, like, character motivation-wise. I thought that I didn't like this episode because Toro Calican is, like, inconsistent and makes dumb choices. They are dumb choices, but they're consistent choices. It's not poorly written. It's just he's kind of a shitter.
Yeah. He makes it very clear he's not motivated by money. He's motivated by fame. It's consistent.
So yeah, I like that beat, and then she gets shot in the gut, but she survives, no problem. Boba Fett saves her.
Like that scene. I like the way that looks. That's one of my favorite moments of the episode, which is not a shock, and it's not a shock that he really does it either. But we're rooting for Fennec Shand in that moment, I feel like, weirdly, and I think that it's a really well done scene. Yeah. But it's really well done. It's like the way it's shot, and you kind of see the explosion of the blaster up front, and then it cuts to far away to see that drop. I thought it was really, really well done.
We like to talk about the proximity and duration it takes to get medical attention for when you receive a mortal wound, and sometimes you die and sometimes you don't die. I was
just about to go there.
It is very explicit that this is sunrise when she gets shot in the belly, and then it's at least the next night when Boba Fett gets her. So that's quite a long time to be dying in the dirt for her to be saved. Is that what you were about to say, Max?
This does a little bit of disjustice. Yes, this does a little bit of disjustice to Qui-Gon Jinn. Because the comparison that's always made is Sabine Wren, because it's like, oh, why did Sabine survive getting stabbed in the gut but not Qui-Gon? And I've defended that many a times. Like, she's in the, it's a very metropolitan area. There's, hospitals nearby, whatever. Help became available immediately. And Qui-Gon Jinn was sitting there for a long time, not bleeding out because his wounds were cauterized, but dying for an extended period in the, planet core far away from anyone. But this one definitely does put a hole in that theory. Yes, it does.
I'm telling you, I like my theory in the fact that Darth Maul and Qui-Gon Jinn were lovers, and Qui-Gon did not know what to do with himself after he saw his lover die in front of his eyes.
Oh,
he just forced...
After you said that about Boba Fett, I was like, you just said something equally dumb about someone else, and I actually liked it a little bit.
Qui-Gon and Padme actually both die of a broken heart.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Mando goes back to Mos Eisley, where Toro has taken Peli and Grogu hostage in order to take Mando in. And this always drives me crazy in shows and movies when this happens. But Toro's an idiot, so it's excused here. But he says, put your hands up, and Mando puts them behind his head. Why is behind your head as acceptable as palms up facing me in front of you? Like, yeah, yes, he happened to have some shenanigans back there, but isn't that always kind of in the back of your hand, the back of your head, when you tell someone to put your hands up, or when you see that in a movie and they put it on the top back of their head? It's like, that still seems kind of active to me. Like, I would really need to see someone deactivate their hands.
I'm not gonna. I wonder if it's a filming thing.
Die Hard.
Like, it's a lot easier to hold your hands like this if you're filming to having your arms not be tired. Yes, yeah. I wonder if it's something like that. Potentially, I don't know.
I have no idea. I've never seen it happen in real life.
Who wants to commit a crime?
That's where we're getting with this. So Mando does his trickery, shoots Toro Calican, and saves Grogu. The more we talk about it, the more I do like this episode. It's just the sum of its parts is not greater, or the sum of its parts seems to be greater than the whole of the episode. Like, microscopically, I do like most of the scenes and just about all the characters, but like as an episode, again, like episode 2, what are we doing here? Except episode 2 ended with the Mudhorn and Grogu, and that was important. And episode 4 had Cara Dune, who will be back later, and did advance the plot that the bounty hunters are still chasing Grogu. This one is the first one that really didn't advance the plot in any way.
Yeah.
Until season 2, because this actually doesn't end there. It actually ends with this reveal of a mysterious figure walking up to a presumed dead Fennec Shand. And we don't know who it is until season 2, episode 1, the very end, when Mando is riding on a swoop bike through the desert, and we pan back and we see Boba Fett standing overlooking him, and then he turns away and he kind of like exits towards the camera. Mm-hmm. And that is such a great ending to that episode, and I love it. And for the life of me, I don't know why that's not the end of this episode. That is how this one should have ended. It would have made the episode so much better, because it would have connected so many more dots. It would have been like, no, listen, we do have a plan. This is why it came in here, and it was just so perfect. And that's really, I guess, my biggest criticism is that ending was supposed to be for this episode.
Yeah.
I feel like that was a business decision. Like, Dave Filoni did want that, but they said, no, like, what if this doesn't get renewed for a season 2, or what if this or that?
That is very possible.
And then by the time season 2 came around, they knew that they were going all in on Boba Fett, and so it was like, go ahead. But Dave Filoni was like, maybe this will have to be in animation or a book or a comic, so I'll leave it like this to not get everyone's hopes up too high. But
the counter argument is that logic has never seemed to have been applied anywhere else in Star Wars, because we've seen multiple times now people saying like, hey, let's do this awesome thing and set up this awesome storyline with this awesome character, and then having the rug pulled out underneath us and been like, actually, we're not going to follow up with a season 2. Sorry.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Can't argue with that one. It couldn't have been that. You're right. All right, but that brings us to the end of the episode. It's a good episode. Dave Filoni Dave Filoni works with a lot of passion for Star Wars. It's very obvious. Passion is a word we use when we're describing something we love. It's also a word we use to describe a crime, and it's also a fruit. So there's a lot of different ways that this can take us. You can cut that. That was a joke from Ted Lasso, and I was just watching it. But it is a good episode.
I love that. I never heard that.
Definitely the worst of these 5. That's an unfortunate place to be in right now. Just because it's good doesn't mean it's not the worst. Let's call a spade here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most optimistic outlook you can have on it.
All right. Does anyone have any force for thought to leave us with? I do. I've been reading a book, Shadows of the Empire, from the Legends days, and I'm not a big Legends fan. I don't dislike it. I haven't read that much of it, and this book is a good reason why. Because sometimes it's just not very good. The new character. I don't like this book very much. I'm almost done with it. Lost my bookmark, actually. I'm very near done with it. But sometimes the characters are just inconsistent with what I think they should be based on the movies. And I'm not trying to take into account anything from Disney canon, post 2015 or whatever, 2013, when they started doing books and comics. Just based on the movies, it seems inconsistent. I bring you a passage of Darth Vader searching for the Millennium Falcon in an asteroid field. Now, this is well after Empire Strikes Back, so this is already treaded ground, but this is how the book handles it. Certainly, Lord Vader. Might I suggest that we send out fighters? Entering the asteroid field at right angles will place a great deal of strain on the ship's vehicles. Strain on the ship's shields. To which Vader replies, "Very well. Tell them to look for anything unusual, anything at all. If they find something, they are not to engage it, but to report back immediately." Is this not the exact same situation that Vader was in not 1 year ago in canon to the Legends timeline? And he was very clear that asteroids do not concern me. And now it's just very well. That I
Luke.
about threw my book across the room.
He's a grown man.
Yeah.
It's called character development.
Luke.
It didn't work well the first time.
Exactly. He's learned from his mistakes. He's like, let's just try the He's doing the George Costanza, the opposite episode. Everything that he's ever thought, he is the opposite now of.
He was crushing it in The Empire Strikes Back. Everything he was doing was working. Hiring the bounty hunters, chasing him through the asteroids. He would have found him in the asteroid field if he didn't move out to send a clear transmission.
That's interesting.
But at what cost
Why do you think that?
mentally?
No, he wouldn't have. He was already in the... Oh, well, because he was going to leave. Well, he didn't know that. Sorry, I'm thinking about that scene too fast in my head now. I'm not making sense. In hindsight, he would have found him eventually because they found themselves in that giant space leg and they had to fly out of it. But that was through no doing of Darth Vader's work.
Right, he had to contact the Emperor. When you got to contact the Emperor, you got to contact the Emperor. But he didn't have to contact the Emperor this time. He could have just gone into the asteroid field like a man, like he did the first time. I found that to be particularly inconsistent with the character. And especially just like...
What's funny is the lack of time between those two things, because we're joking about it being character development, but that is like we just did this exact same thing.
Yes, there's 1 year between Empire and Jedi, and this is during that year. I was thinking about going rogue on Shadows of the Empire once I finished this book, but I ended up not liking it, and so it's just gonna my notes on it are just gonna be wrapped up into a couple force for thoughts because I don't want to just shit on this book for a full hour. But it's really not that good, I thought.
You know, I think it was like one of the first major like multimedia tie-ins to Star Wars that they did because it was the early 90s. They had the comic, they had the book, and they had the video game. And they're not all the same story. They're all tie-ins, so they all tell different parts of the same story. And I've played the video game a long time ago. Completely forgot what it was about, so I had to watch a video that kind of summarized it. And it seemed only okay as far as like a story goes. And the comic was also not that great. I'm kind of with you. Shadows of the Empire holds like a very nostalgic place in my heart because it was one of the first video games I ever played. But the story is not great. The characters are interesting, So I am kind of interested in getting the action figures, which is what we were talking about earlier, because there's a Dash Rendar and Prince Xizor Black series that look great. And
You
I
call
do
him
like
Xizor?
that.
I've been reading Shizor this whole time.
That's interesting.
Actually, I'm pretty
I
sure
don't
it
think
spells
I've
it
ever heard it
phonetically
out
Shizor a
loud.
few times. I think it's canonically Shizor.
Okay. Shizor.
Uh,
Oh boy.
but
I had that
I've
in my head for so
similar
long.
to Book of Boba Fett going ride or die on Fennec Shand because she's the new character and she doesn't live up. This Shadows of the Empire is pretty ride or die on Dash Rendar and Prince Shizor, and I don't care for either of them. Dash Rendar is frustratingly the exact same as Han Solo, down to a T, and Prince Shizor is surprisingly sexual, like almost
that's interesting.
almost unbelievably sexual.
Well, pull some examples of that for next one. I would like to hear more of that.
That will
You
not
would.
be hard. It is. He is like, I don't want to oversell it now because it was the shock of how I was expecting him to be not a sexual character at all, and he ended up being a very sexual character, and that's what was so shocking. So I don't want to oversell it, but yeah, shockingly
I imagine it's like a
sexual.
very normal Star Wars book, and then every now and then he just has a line that says, "And tell Sugar Tits over there to bring me a beer," or something. And you're like, "Oh my god."
Max, I will find quotes. Stay tuned for next week. Mando, season 1, episode 6, and Prince Shizor smut.
Intro jokes writing themselves.
Thanks for listening. Do watch Mando season 1, episode 6 for next week, and we'll see you then.
See you, Sammy.